friends, and welcome to Bedtime Stories with Miss Ann. As you guys can see today, I am doing our story time from our program room. Isn't that exciting? It's been a long time since I've done a story time in here. That is a lot of fun for us today. So today's stories is about our friends in the winter. So our first book is Pulls Apart by Janine Willis. And our second book is Bear Snores On by Karma Wilson. But we're going to get to that in 1 minute. If you've been with me at one of my live story times, you know I like to sing a song to help us get our wiggles out so we can sit down nicely to hear our stories. Our song is If You're Happy and You Know It. There are 4 parts to the song, friends. Part 1 is you clap your hands. Part 2 is you stomp your feet. Part 3 is you shout hooray. And part 4 is you do all 3 parts together. Okay, you guys ready? Give me 1 second to start the song, and then we're going to get right to our stories tonight. Okay, hold on 1 second, friends. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, and you really want to show it, if you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, stomp your feet. If you're happy and you know it, stomp your feet. If you're happy and you know it, and you really want to show it, if you're happy and you know it, stomp your feet. If you're happy and you know it, shout hooray, hooray. If you're happy and you know it, shout hooray, hooray. If you're happy and you know it, and you really want to show it, if you're happy and you know it, shout hooray, hooray. If you're happy and you know it, do all 3. Hooray! If you're happy and you know it, do all 3. Hooray! If you're happy and you know it, and you really want to show it, if you're happy and you know it, do all 3. Hooray! Great job, friends! That was great, guys! Really great! Okay, our first story tonight, like I said, is Pulls Apart by Janine Willis. Pulls Apart by Janine Willis. As everyone knows, penguins are found at the South Pole and never at the North Pole. At least, not until the day. The Pritchard Browns got lost on their way to a picnic. Mr. Pritchard Brown was in charge of the map. He told everyone to turn right at the snowman, which was wrong. Now here they all were on the other side of the world, Mr. and Mrs. Pritchard Brown, Peaky, Poots, and Pog, drifting towards an enormous, furry, white something. Is it a lion? Is it a tiger? Asked Peaky and Poots. Is it a picnic blanket? Asked Pog. The enormous something looked them up and down. He had never seen anything like the Pritchard Browns before. I'm Mr. White, he said. I'm a polar bear, and you are? Parrots, said Peaky and Poots. Pork pies, said Pog. We're penguins, said Mrs. Pritchard Brown. What are you doing here? Wondered Mr. White. We're going to a picnic at the South Pole, said Pog. This is the North Pole, my friends, said Mr. White. The South Pole is 12,430 miles that way. Anyone can make a mistake, Mr. Pritchard Brown said with a shrug. Don't think of it as a mistake, said Mr. White. Think of it as the start of a big adventure. Maybe I could help you find your way home. I have often dreamed of being the first polar bear to reach the South Pole. Mom says we should always follow our dreams, said Peaky. Dad says we should always follow him, said Poots. Lead the way, Mr. White, said Mrs. Pritchard Brown. The penguins followed Mr. White over land and sea. Eek, said Peaky. Whoa, said Poots. Can we have our picnic now? Asked Pog. But it wasn't the best spot, so they followed Mr. White all the way to the United States. Howdy, said Mr. Pritchard Brown. Busy, said Peaky. Buzzing, said Poots. Can we have our picnic now? Asked Pog. Not yet, dear, said Mrs. Pritchard Brown. The United States was awesome, but it wasn't home, so they followed Mr. White all the way to England. How do you do? Said Mr. Pritchard Brown. Great, said Peaky. Grand, said Poots. Can we have our picnic? Asked Pog. Not here, dear, said Mrs. Pritchard Brown. England was charming, but it wasn't home, so they followed Mr. White all the way to Italy. Ciao, said Mr. Pritchard Brown. Wet, said Peaky. Wonderful, said Poots. I need to pee, said Pog. Not here, dear, said Mrs. Pritchard Brown. Italy was magnifico, but it wasn't home, so they followed Mr. White all the way to India. Namaste, said Mr. Pritchard Brown. Hot, said Peaky. Huge, said Poots. Put the python down, dear, said Mrs. Pritchard Brown. India was dazzling, but it wasn't home, so they followed Mr. White all the way to Australia. Good day, said Mr. Pritchard Brown. Faster, said Peaky. Fun, said Poots. Can we have our picnic now? Asked Pog. Soon, said Mrs. Pritchard Brown. Australia was bonzer, but it still wasn't home, so they followed Mr. White. Over the land and over the sea, on and on they went. Are we almost there? Asked Peaky, Poots, and Pog. It's not far now, said Mr. White, and they followed him left and right, left and right, all the way home. Please stay, Mr. White, asked Peaky and Poots. You can share our picnic, said Pog. But the South Pole wasn't his home. He was a polar bear, and polar bears lived at the North Pole, which is why he said goodbye and traveled 12,430 miles all the way back to the North Pole, where he belonged. He followed his wildest dream and had the best adventure. He was happy to be home, but sad that he would never see a penguin again. But then, to Mr. White's delight, he did. Hello, how did you get here? He said. Then he heard a familiar voice. Someone put my egg in your hat, said Mrs. Pritchard Brown. Can we have our picnic now? Asked Pog. Please, make yourselves at home, said Mr. White. And they did, because even though penguins and polar bears live poles apart, friends are always welcome. And that is Poles Apart by Janine Willis. Our second book tonight is Bear Snores On by Karma Wilson. In a cave in the woods, in his deep, dark lair, through the long, cold winter, sleeps a great brown bear. Cuddled in a heap with his eyes shut tight, he sleeps through the day and he sleeps through the night. The cold winds howl and the night sounds growl, but the bear snores on. An itty-bitty mouse, pitter-pat, tiptoe, creep-crawls in the cave from the fluff-cold snow. Mouse squeaks, too damp, too dank, too dark. So he lights wee twigs with a small, hot spark. The coals pip-pop and the wind wouldn't stop, but the bear snores on. Two glowing eyes sneak peek in the den. Mouse cries, "Who's there?" And a hare hops in. "Ho, Mouse," said Hare, "long time no see." So they pop white corn and they brew black tea. Mouse sips wee slurps. Hare burps big burps. But the bear snores on. A badger scuttles by, sniff-snuffs at the air. "I smell yummy yums, perhaps we can share." "I've brought honey nuts," Badger says with a grin. "Let's divvy them up, cozy down, and dig in." And they nibble and they munch with a chew-chomp crunch. But the bear snores on. A gopher and a mole tunnel up through the floor. Then a wren and a raven flutter in through the door. Mole mutters, "What a night! What a storm!" twitters wren, and everybody clutters in the great bear's den. They tweet and they titter, they chat and they chitter, but the bear snores on. In a cave in the woods, a slumbering bear sleeps through the party in his very own lair. Hare stokes the fire, Mouse seasons the stew, then a small pepper flake makes the bear achoo! He blows and he sneezes and the whole crowd freezes. And the bear wakes up. Bear gnarls and he snarls. Bear roars and he rumbles. Bear jumps and he stomps. Bear growls and he grumbles. "You've snuck in my lair and you've all had fun, but me, I was sleeping and I've had none." And he whimpers and he moans, he wails and he groans, and the bear blubbers on. Mouse squeaks, "Don't fret, don't fuss, look, see, we can pop more corn, we can brew more tea." Bear gulps, bear gobbles, he sighs with delight. Then he spins tall tales through the blustery night. When the sun peeks up on a crisp, clear dawn, Bear can't sleep. But his friends snore on. And that is Bear Snores On by Karma Wilson. Thank you for joining me tonight, friends. See you soon in the library. Be well.